Good morning to all. Welcome to Karnataka LMS. I am Nagunenu, Assistant Professor of English, the Department of Collegiate and Technical Education. In today's class, I am going to explain Chapter 3 from the novel Silas Marner, written by George Eliot, prescribed by the University of Mysore to the second year B.A. Optional English Program CBCS for semester 2020-21. The title of the paper is Victorian Fiction. In the Chapter 3, we are going to know about Squire Cat's family and the problem of Godfrey Cass, who is blackmailed by Dunce Cass. Squire Cass was the greatest man in traveling. He lived in the large red house. ಒಂದು ದೊಡ್ಡ ವಿಶಾಲವಾದ ಕೆಂಪು ಮನೆಯಲ್ಲಿ ವಾಸವಿದ್ದರು. It had a flight of stone steps in front and high stables behind it. He was only one among several landed parishioners who was honored with the title of Squire. ಅಲ್ಲಿ ಅನೇಕ ಲ್ಯಾಂಡೆಡ್ ಜಮೀನ್ದಾರಿ ಪಾರ್ಷನರ್ ಇದ್ದರೂ ಕೂಡ ಇವರಿಗೆ ಮಾತ್ರ ಸ್ಕ್ವೈರ್ ಅನ್ನೋ ಟೈಟಲನ್ನು ಕೊಡಲಾಗಿತ್ತು. There was Mr. Osgood, who was as old as Squire, but he did not have any tenant, but he occupied only his farm. ಅವರ ತೋಟವನ್ನು ಅವರ ಜಮೀನು ಮಾತ್ರ ಇಟ್ಕೊಂಡಿದ್ರೆ ಅಲ್ಲಿ ಟೆನೆಂಟ್ಸ್ ಇರಲಿಲ್ಲ. ಬಟ್ ಮಿಸ್ಟರ್ ಸ್ಕ್ವೈರ್ ಕ್ಯಾಸ್ ಹ್ಯಾಡ್ ಆರ್ 2 tenants who considered him as a landlord. It was a glorious war time. It proved it was a peculiar favor of providence to those landed parishioners, because the fall of prices had not carried the race of small squires and yeomen down that road to ruin, who continued with the extravagant habits and bad husbandry. ಹೊರಗಡೆ ಎಲ್ಲ because of war there was fall of price, but here there was no fall of price, but there was increase in the price, because all supplication from of goods from outside London, England was stopped, and their grains, their land gained much importance, and there was the increase of price. Though they were bad farmers, they were able to earn more money, and therefore they were able to continue their extravagant habits. ಅವರ ಅತಿಯಾದಂಥ ದುಂದುವೆಚ್ಚದ ಅಭ್ಯಾಸಗಳು ಮತ್ತು ಬ್ಯಾಡ್ ಹಸ್ಬ್ಯಾಂಡ್ರಿ, ಕೆಟ್ಟ ಉಳಿತಾಯದ ಗುಣವನ್ನೇ ಮುಂದುವರಿಸಿದ್ರು. ರಾವ್ಲೆ was away from the current industrial energy and puritanical earnestness. ಅಲ್ಲಿ ಪ್ಯೂರಿಟಾನಿಕಲ್ ಅರ್ನೆಸ್ನೆಸ್ ಆಗಲಿ ಅಥವಾ ಇಂಡಸ್ಟ್ರಿಯಲ್ ರೆವಲ್ಯೂಷನ್ನ ಪ್ರಭಾವ ಆಗಲಿ ರಾವ್ಲೆ ವಿಲೇಜ್ ಮೇಲೆ ಇರಲಿಲ್ಲ. The rich ate and drank freely, and they accepted gout and apoplexy as the mysterious disease of the respectable families. The poor thought that it was the right of the rich people to lead a jolly life, because their feasting provided them with multiple arts. ಶ್ರೀಮಂತರು ಆತನ ಕೂಟ ಇಟ್ಟರೆ ಇವರಿಗೆ ಬಡವರಿಗೆ ಬೇಕಾದಷ್ಟು ಭಕ್ಷ್ಯ ಭೋಜನಗಳು ಸಿಗ್ತಾ ಇದ್ವು ತಿನ್ನಲಿಕ್ಕೆ. ಆ್ಯಂಡ್ ಬೆಟ್ಟಿ ಜೆ ಸೆಂಟೆಡ್ the boiling of Squire Cat's hams, and she had a yearning for the liquor in which it was boiled. And the poor people regarded the feast held in those rich people as a fine thing, and because they could have many rounds of beef or ale, and they could enjoy it as long as they could. And if those feasts were held especially in the winter time, ಚಳಿಗಾಲದಲ್ಲಿ ಇಡ್ತಾ ಇದ್ರು, it was the darker season and there was little work to be done, and hours were long, and many neighbors used to keep open house in succession. Many neighbors used to arrange feast, and they could visit all the houses of neighbors. And if the standing dishes at Squire Cat's diminished, they could walk a little up, higher up the village, to Mr. Osgood's at the orchards. Mr. Osgood's ಬಳಿಗೆ ಹೋಗಿ ಅಲ್ಲಿನ ತೋಟದಲ್ಲಿ ಅಲ್ಲಿ ಅವರು they could get hams and tines uncut, pork pies, the scent of the fire in them, fresh, delicious food was available there, though it was not in abundance. ಅದೇ ಅವರಿಗೆ ಅಲ್ಲಿ ಹೆಚ್ಚು ಧಾರಾಳವಾಗಿ ತಿನ್ನೋಷ್ಟು ಸಿಗ್ತಿರ್ಲಿಲ್ಲ. Here at the Squire Cat's party, the feast, they could get abundant food, but it was not finished with perfection. It was not tasty because of the absence of the wife of Squire. She had died a long ago, and there was the absence of that mother, the fountain of wholesome love and fear in the parlor and kitchen. ಮನೆಯಲ್ಲಿ ಯಜಮಾನಿ ಇರಬೇಕಾದಂಥ ಆ ಪ್ರೀತಿಯ ಚಿಲುಮೆ ಅಥವಾ ಆ ಮನೆಯಲ್ಲಿ ಹಿಡಿತದಲ್ಲಿ ಇಟ್ಕೊಳ್ತಕ್ಕಂಥ ಯಜಮಾನತೆಯ ಕೊರತೆಯಿಂದಾಗಿ ಅಲ್ಲಿ ಎಲ್ಲವೂ ಧಾರಾಳವಾಗಿ ಸಿಗ್ತಿತ್ತು, ಆದರೆ ಪರ್ಫೆಕ್ಷನ್ ಇರ್ತಿರಲಿಲ್ಲ. And the proud squire, because of the absence of his wife, used to sometimes go to rainbow and sit there in the parlor, and because of this reason his sons also had turned out rather ill. ಸರಿಯಾಗಿ ಆರೈಕೆ ಮಾಡೋ ತಾಯಿ ಇಲ್ಲದೆ ಇರೋದ್ರಿಂದ ಅವರ ಗಂಡು ಮಕ್ಕಳು ಕೂಡ ಸ್ವಲ್ಪ ಕಾಯಿಲೆ ಬಿದ್ದವರಂತಲೇ ಕಾಣ್ತಾ ಇದ್ರು. ಆ್ಯಂಡ್ ದೋ ದೆರ್ ವಾಸ್ ನೋ ಸಿವಿಯರ್ ಮಾರಲ್ ಸೆನ್ಷರ್, ಅಲ್ಲೇನು ಅಂತ ತೀರಾ ನೈತಿಕವಾದಂಥ ಒಂದು ನಿರ್ಬಂಧಗಳಿರಲಿಲ್ಲ. ಬಟ್ ದ ಸ್ಕ್ವೈರ್ ಲಿಮಿಟೆಡ್ ಹಿಸ್ ಸನ್ಸ್ ಟು ಹಿಸ್ ಹೌಸ್ ಓನ್ಲಿ. ಇಟ್ ಡಿಡ್ ನಾಟ್ ಅಲೋ ದೆಮ್ ಎನಿ ಲೈಸೆನ್ಸ್ ದಟ್ ದಿ ಫಾದರ್ ಕುಡ್ ಅಫೋರ್ಡ್. ಒಬ್ಬ ತಂದೆಯಾಗಿ ಏನು ಅವರಿಗೆ ಅನುಮತಿ ಕೊಡ್ಬೋದು, ಆ ರೀತಿಯ ಸ್ವತಂತ್ರವನ್ನು ಕೊಟ್ಟಿಲ್ಲ. He had two sons, Godfrey Cass and Dunstan Cass. People disliked Dunstan Cass, who was commonly called Dunstan Cass, because of his swapping and betting habit, and they thought that in future he would really bring dishonor to the family. And they were surprised where he got that spiteful nature, and they were sure that definitely he would bring dishonor to the family of Squire, which had a monument in the church and tankards older than King George. But they had 1,000 pities for Godfrey Cass, the elder one, who was of 26 years old, open-faced, good-natured young man. And they thought that if he followed the road of his brother, he would lose the hand of Nancy Lammeter. Nancy Lammeter, one of a girl from a respectable family who had liking, everyone had observed that she had feelings for Godfrey Cass, and they had wondered they would make a wonderful, handsome pair at Ravelay. But after the return of Godfrey, after 1 year, there was some change in Godfrey. They noticed some change in Godfrey. He was half so fresh-colored and open as he used to. People thought that if Nancy Lammeter would be the mistress of Red House, there would be a fine change, because she was brought up in a very orderly way. In their house, those ladies never wasted even a pinch of salt, but they provided everyone in the house whatever they wanted according to their place. And the people thought that such a daughter-in-law would be a saving to the old squire. ಈ ರೀತಿಯ ಸೊಸೆ ಆ ಸ್ಕ್ವೈರ್ಗೆ ನಿಜಕ್ಕೂ ಒಂದು ಒಳ್ಳೆಯ ಉಳಿತಾಯವನ್ನು ಮಾಡ್ತಾಳೆ ಅಂದ್ಕೊಂಡಿದ್ರು. ಬಿಕಾಸ್ ದೋ ದೆರ್ ವಾಸ್ ಎ ಗುಡ್ ಇನ್ಕಮ್, he had many holes in his pockets. ಜೇಬಲ್ಲಿ ತುಂಬ ತೂತುಗಳಿದ್ವು. Now we are going to know about Dunse's meeting with Godfrey Cass. They are brothers. Godfrey Cass is waiting for, they had sent words to Dunse to meet him. It was November afternoon, and he is sitting in his parlor waiting for his brother. There was sadness on his face. Dunse entered with a sound of heavy step, whistling. He was a man with a heavy-looking man. His face was flushed, and he was in an elated state. Heavy-looking man, whistle ಹಾಕೊಂಡು ದಬ ದಬ ಹೆಜ್ಜೆ ಹಾಕ್ಕೊಂಡು ಬರ್ತಾನೆ. Already he had taken drink, and he was flushed, and he was in the first stage of intoxication. At the sight of him, Godfrey's gloomy face changed into an active expression of hatred. ನೋಡ್ತಿದ್ದಾಗೆ ಗಾಡ್ಫ್ರೇ ಮುಖದ ಭಾವನೆ ಬದಲಾಯಿತು. ಆತ ಕೋಪ ಮಾಡ್ಕೊಳ್ತಾನೆ. ಡನ್ಸೆ ಇನ್ ಎ ವೆರಿ ಮಾಕಿಂಗ್ ಟೋನ್ asked him why he was sent for and what he wanted of him, because he was the elder one, better one, and whenever they send words for those younger one, it was their duty to visit them. So ನಮ್ಮಿಂದ ನಿಮ್ಗೆ ಏನಾಗಬೇಕು ಅನ್ನೋ ರೀತಿಯಲ್ಲಿ ಕೇಳ್ತಾನೆ. Godfrey savagely told him to return the money he had given to him, which he had collected from ಫಾಲೋವರಿಂದ ನಾನು ಕಲೆಕ್ಟ್ ಮಾಡಿರೋ ಹಣನ ಕೊಟ್ಬಿಡು. ದ ಸ್ಕ್ವೈರ್ ಈಸ್ ಶಾರ್ಟ್ ಆಫ್ ಕ್ಯಾಶ್, ಆ್ಯಂಡ್ ಈಸ್ ಡಿಮ್ಯಾಂಡಿಂಗ್ ಮನಿ. ಸ್ಕ್ವೈರ್ ತಂದೆಗೆ ಹಣ ಬೇಕಾಗಿದೆ ಅಂತ. ಅವರಿಗೆ ಹೇಳಿಲ್ಲ ನಾನು ನಿನಗೆ ಕೊಟ್ಟಿದ್ದೀನಿ ಅಂತ. ಫಾದರ್ ಕೊಟ್ಟಿಲ್ಲ ಅಂತ ಹೇಳಿದ್ದೀನಿ. ದ ಫಾದರ್ ಡಿಡ್ ನಾಟ್ ಪೇ ಅಂತ ಹೇಳಿದ್ದೀನಿ. ಆ್ಯಂಡ್ he had sent words to Fowler to visit him and pay the rent within that week. Otherwise, he had given the words to Cox to distrain Fowler. ಕಾಕ್ಸ್ಗೆ ಹೇಳಿ ಕಳಿಸಿದ್ದಾರೆ ಅವನ್ನ ಜಪ್ತಿ ಮಾಡು ಅಂತ. ಸೊ ಐ ಆಮ್ ಇನ್ ಟ್ರಬಲ್, ಪ್ಲೀಸ್ ರಿಟರ್ನ್ ದಟ್ ಮನಿ ಅಂತ ಹೇಳ್ತಾರೆ. ಬಟ್ ಡನ್ಸೆ ಟೋಲ್ಡ್ ಹಿಮ್ ಟು ಗೆಟ್ ದ ಟ್ರಬಲ್ ಆಫ್ ಅರೇಂಜಿಂಗ್ ಮನಿ ಆನ್ ಹಿಮ್ಸೆಲ್ಫ್. ನೀನು ಅರೇಂಜ್ ಮಾಡಿಬಿಡಪ್ಪ, ಬಿಕಾಸ್ ಯು ಕಲೆಕ್ಟೆಡ್ ಮನಿ ಫ್ರಮ್ ಫಾಲರ್ ಆ್ಯಂಡ್ ಔಟ್ ಆಫ್ ಯುವರ್ ಲವ್ ಫಾರ್ ಯುವರ್ ಬ್ರದರ್ ಯು ಹ್ಯಾಡ್ ಗಿವನ್ ಇಟ್ ಟು ಮೀ. ಆ್ಯಂಡ್ ನೌ ಆಲ್ಸೋ ಪ್ಲೀಸ್ ಹ್ಯಾವ್ ದ ಕೈಂಡ್ನೆಸ್ ಟು ಪೇ ಇಟ್ ಬ್ಯಾಕ್ ಫಾರ್ ದ ಔಟ್ ಆಫ್ ಲವ್ ಫಾರ್ ಯುವರ್ ಬ್ರದರ್ ಅಂತ ಕೇಳ್ತಾನೆ. Godfrey threatened to knock him down, but Dunsey told in a light tone, he began to blackmail Godfrey. He would not knock him down or startle him, because if he would do so, Godfrey would be turned out of the house and would be cut off with a shilling any day. ಮನೆಯಿಂದ ಆಚೆ ಹಾಕಿಸ್ತೀನಿ, ನಿಂಗೆ ಬರೋ ಆದಾಯ ಎಲ್ಲ ನಿಲ್ಲಿಸ್ಬಿಡ್ತೀನಿ. ಆ್ಯಂಡ್ ಈ ಮೈ ಟೆಲ್ ದ ಸ್ಕ್ವೈರ್ ಹೌ ಈಸ್ ಹ್ಯಾಂಡ್ಸಮ್ ಸನ್ ವಾಸ್ ಮ್ಯಾರಿಡ್ ಟು ದಟ್ ನೈಸ್ ಯಂಗ್ ಮೆನ್ ಮಾಲಿ ಫಾರನ್. ಇನ್ನು ಮಾಲಿ ಫಾರನ್ ಹುಡುಗಿಯನ್ನು ಮದುವೆ ಆಗಿಬಿಟ್ಟಿದ್ದಾನೆ. ಆ್ಯಂಡ್ ಹಿ ವಾಸ್ ಅನ್ಹ್ಯಾಪಿ ಬಿಕಾಸ್ ಶಿ ವಾಸ್ ಎ ವುಮೆನ್, ಬಿಕಾಸ್ ಆಫ್ ದ ಹ್ಯಾಬಿಟ್ ಆಫ್ ಹರ್ ಡ್ರಿಂಕಿಂಗ್ ಏಲ್. ಆ್ಯಂಡ್ ಬೈ ನೌ I would reveal this to the squire, and I easily would get into your place. ನಿನ್ನ ಮನೆಯಿಂದ ಆಚೆ ಹಾಕಿ ನಿನ್ನ ಜಾಗಕ್ಕೆ ನಾನು ಬರ್ತೀನಿ. ಆ್ಯಂಡ್ ಯು ವುಡ್ ನಾಟ್ ಡೂ ಸೊ ಬಿಕಾಸ್ ಐ ಆಮ್ ವೆರಿ ಈಸಿ ಗೋಯಿಂಗ್ ಗುಡ್ ನೇಚರ್ಡ್ ಬ್ರದರ್. ಸೊ ಯು ವುಡ್ ಟೇಕ್ ಟ್ರಬಲ್, ಪ್ಲೀಸ್ ಟೇಕ್ ಟ್ರಬಲ್ ಆ್ಯಂಡ್ ಅರೇಂಜ್ ಫಾರ್ £100 ಅಂತ ಹೇಳ್ತಾನೆ. ಗಾಡ್ಫ್ರೇ ಸೆಡ್ ದಟ್ ಹಿ ಡಿಡ್ ನಾಟ್ ಹ್ಯಾವ್ ಎ ಶಿಲ್ಲಿಂಗ್ ವಿತ್ ಹಿಮ್. ನಂತರ ಒಂದು ನಾಣ್ಯನೂ ಇಲ್ಲಯ್ಯ ಅಂತ ಹೇಳ್ತಾನೆ. And he would not, it was not easy to slip into his place, because if he would do so, he would also be turned out, because he would inform everything to his father's favorite Bob, and Bob would think of getting rid of him without caring for his words. Dunsey got up to leave, saying that he was sure that Godfrey would arrange for money, because he knew that it would be better for them to be together at home. Dunsey ಎದು ಹೇಳ್ತಾನೆ ಏನಂತ, ಗಾಡ್ಫ್ರೇ ವುಡ್ ಅರೇಂಜ್ ಮನಿ ಫಾರ್ ಹಿಮ್. ನೀನು ಯಾಕಂದರೆ he cannot live without his brother in the house, and he wanted to live with his brother in the same house. But Godfrey rushed after Dunsey and seized him by the arm. ಅವನು ಹೋಗಿ ಇಟ್ಕೊಂಡು ಕೇಳ್ತಾನೆ that and with an oath he said that he had no money. Then Dunsey suggested him to borrow from old Kimball, but Godfrey says that he would said that he would not ask him anymore, and he would not pay him anymore also. He had already taken over debt from him. Dunsey suggested him to sell his horse Wildfire in the next day hunt. ನಾಳೆ ಹಂಟ್ ಇದೆಯಲ್ಲ, ಅಲ್ಲಿ ಕುದುರೆ ಮಾರಿಬಿಡು ಅಂತಾನೆ. But Godfrey refused to do so for two reasons. One reason was that it was his pride. The horse was his pride. He didn't like his stable to be empty, and people talked many things about that empty stable. And the second reason was that he wanted to go to Mrs. Osgood's birthday dance, where he was expecting the arrival of Nancy. Dunsey now in a light mocking tone speak ill of Nancy. Oh, Miss Nancy we are going to meet Mrs. Nancy, and we are going to be naughty with her again, and we are going to be taken her into confidence like this. Godfrey shouted to hold his tongue about Nancy, and Dunsey in an artificial tone, he suggested him to utilize this opportunity of saving time, because one day or the other day Molly should happen, if she would happen to take a drop to a much laudanum, he would become a widower, and Nancy wouldn't mind to be his second wife, as she didn't know that about his first marriage, and he himself was a good-natured brother who would keep it as a secret from her. And now Godfrey lost his patience, and he expressed his decision to go to visit the squire and reveal everything to squire on his own, because Molly also was threatening to visit the squire one day and tell everything to him. And she would definitely do that. Instead of facing the problem, after that he decided to go to the squire and now itself and narrate everything and to get rid of Dunsey. And because Dunsey is blackmailing him like anything, they would drain all the money that he had and he would leave nothing to satisfy that Molly. And it was all one to him, and he decided to go to reveal everything to his father and reveal everything. Dunsey perceived that even such irresolute, hesitating Godfrey could take decisions because of his overshot at the mark. And but he told him with unconcern to do as he wished to do, and sat on the chair. Godfrey stood uneasily, though he had the courage. He was so uneasy because he had courage to face the situation, but now he couldn't take any decision in that dangerous situation. Naturally, he was a man of irresolution and cowardice. Now the danger of the imagination of consequences of his confession made him more fearful, more dreadful. He couldn't imagine himself as a disinherited son of a small squire who would lose both Nancy as well as his inheritance, and even all the tie. He had to break every tie with the family, and this he had to list his name for a soldier. ಆಮೇಲೆ ಜೀವನಕ್ಕೆ ಏನು ಮಾಡಬೇಕು? He had to enlist his name for soldier, which was really a step short of suicide. ಆತ್ಮಹತ್ಯೆ ಮಾಡ್ಕೊಂಡಂಗೆ ಯಾರ ಕಣ್ಣಲ್ಲಿ? ಅಲ್ಲಿರ್ತಕ್ಕಂಥ ರೆಸ್ಪೆಕ್ಟೇಬಲ್ ಫ್ಯಾಮಿಲೀಸ್, ಒಳ್ಳೆಯ ಕುಟುಂಬದವರ ಗೌರವಾನ್ವಿತ ಕುಟುಂಬದವರ ಕಣ್ಣುಗಳಲ್ಲಿ. ಆ್ಯಂಡ್ therefore Godfrey decided not to confess but face whatever would come. ಆದ್ದರಿಂದ ಇದಕ್ಕೆ ಹೆದರಿಬಿಟ್ಟು ಕನ್ಫೆಸ್ ಮಾಡೋದೇ ಬೇಡ, ಏನು ಬರುತ್ತೆ ಅದನ್ನು ಫೇಸ್ ಮಾಡ್ತೀನಿ ಅಂತ ಅಂದ್ಕೊಳ್ತಾನೆ. ನಾವು ಡನ್ಸ್ಟನ್ ಸಜೆಷನ್ ಟು ಸೆಲ್ ದ ಹಾರ್ಸ್ ಸೀಮ್ಡ್ ಕ್ವೈಟ್ ಅಗ್ರಿಯೇಬಲ್. ಈಗ ಡನ್ಸ್ಟನ್ ಹೇಳ್ತಿದ್ದಾನಲ್ಲ, ಹಾರ್ಸ್ನ ಮಾರ್ಬಿಡು ಅಂತ, ಅದೇ ಸರಿ ಅನಿಸುತ್ತೆ. ಆ್ಯಂಡ್ he agreed to entrust the horse with Dunstan to the next day hunt, but warned him to hand over the money to him because he had nothing else to trust to. ದುಡ್ಡು ತಂದು ಕೊಡು, ನಂಗೆ ಬೇರೆ ಇನ್ನೇನು ಇಲ್ಲ ಸ್ಕ್ವೈರ್ಗೆ ದುಡ್ಡು ವಾಪಸ್ ಕೊಡಲಿಕ್ಕೆ ಅಂತ ಹೇಳ್ತಾನೆ. ಡನ್ಸ್ಟನ್ ರಿಪ್ಲೈಡ್ ದಟ್ he would try his good luck to get the good prize, and he also said that he had nothing to do with the Fowler's money. Godfrey had collected the rent from Fowler and he had given it to his brother, and out of his love for his brother. And Dunstan had nothing to do with Fowler's money because Godfrey had collected. Godfrey told a lie to the squire, and it was his responsibility to return the money to the squire. And saying this, he went out that he would try his luck in the next day hunt to get good price to the horse. And now Godfrey is seized by a peculiar fear, and he was so upset about his personal circumstances. ಅವನ ಈ ವೈಯಕ್ತಿಕ ಜೀವನದ ಈ ಪರಿಸ್ಥಿತಿಯ ಬಗ್ಗೆ ಅವನಿಗೆ ಭಾಳ ಬೇಜಾರಾಗ್ತಿದೆ. It was his mind was recollecting his petty history. ಅವನ ಕೊಳಕು ಇತಿಹಾಸವನ್ನೇ ಜ್ಞಾಪಿಸ್ಕೊಳ್ತಾ ಇರುತ್ತೆ ಪದೇ ಪದೇ. ಈ ಸೀಕ್ರೆಟ್ ಮ್ಯಾರೇಜ್ ವಿತ್ ಮಾಲಿಯೊಂದಿಗೆ ರಹಸ್ಯವಾಗಿ ಮದುವೆ ಆಗಿದ್ದಾನೆ. ಇಟ್ ವಾಸ್ ದ ರಿಸಲ್ಟ್ ಆಫ್ ಲೋ ಪ್ಯಾಷನ್. ಒಂದು ಕೆಳದರ್ಜೆಯ ಆಸೆಯಿಂದ, ದೈಹಿಕ ಆಸೆಯಿಂದ ಅವಳ ಜೊತೆಗೆ ಅವಳ ಮದುವೆ ಆಗಬೇಕಾಗಿ ಬಂತು. ಆ್ಯಂಡ್ ಇಟ್ ವಾಸ್ ಎ ಡಿಲ್ಯೂಷನ್. ನೌ ಹಿ ವಾಸ್ ಅವೇಕಂಡ್ ಫ್ರಮ್ ದಟ್ ಡಿಲ್ಯೂಷನ್. ಆ ಭ್ರಮೆಯಿಂದ ಆಚೆಗೆ ಬಂದಿದ್ದಾನೆ. ಬಟ್ ನೌ ದಟ್ ಮ್ಯಾರೇಜ್ ಲುಕ್ಡ್ ಎ ಬಿಟರ್ ಮೆಮೊರಿ ಆ್ಯಂಡ್ ಬ್ಲೈಟ್ ಆನ್ ಹಿಸ್ ಲೈಫ್. ಈಗ ಆ ಮದುವೆ ಅವನ ಜೀವನದಲ್ಲಿ ಒಂದು ಬಿಟರ್ ಮೆಮೊರಿ, ಒಂದು ಕಹಿ ನೆನಪು, ಒಂದು ಕಳಂಕವಾಗಿ ಕಾಣ್ತಾ ಇದೆ. ಈ ಹ್ಯಾಡ್ ನೋನ್ ದಟ್ ಇಟ್ ವಾಸ್ ಎ ಟ್ರ್ಯಾಪ್, ಇಟ್ ವಾಸ್ ಎ ಡಿಲ್ಯೂಷನ್. ದಟ್ ಡಿಲ್ಯೂಷನ್ ವಾಸ್ ಎ ಟ್ರ್ಯಾಪ್ ಲೇಡ್ ಬೈ ಡನ್ಸ್ಟನ್. ಅವನ ತಮ್ಮನೇ ಹಾಕಿದಂಥ ಗಾಳ ಅದು. ಯಾಕೆ ಅಂತಂದರೆ ಹಿಸ್ ಬ್ರದರ್ಸ್ ಡಿಗ್ರೇಡಿಂಗ್ ಮ್ಯಾರೇಜ್ ವುಡ್ ಬಿ ಎ ವೆರಿ ಗುಡ್ ಮೀನ್ಸ್ to him to gratify his jealous hate towards his brother. ಅವ್ರ ಅಣ್ಣನ ಕಂಡು ಅವನಿಗಿರೋ ಹೊಟ್ಟೆ ಕಿಚ್ಚ, ಆ ದ್ವೇಷನ ತೀರ್ಸ್ಕೊಳ್ಳೋಕ್ಕೆ ಇದೊಂದು ಮಾರ್ಗ. ಅವನು ಈ ರೀತಿ ಡಿಗ್ರೇಡೆಡ್ ಮದುವೆ ಆದರೆ, ಆ್ಯಂಡ್ ಎ ಚಾನ್ಸ್ ಟು ಫುಲ್ಫಿಲ್ ಹಿಸ್ ಕುಪಿಡಿಟಿ. ಅವನ ಹಣಕಾಸಿನ ಅವಶ್ಯಕತೆಗಳನ್ನ ಪೂರೈಸ್ಕೊಳ್ಳೋಕ್ಕೂ ಇದೊಂದು ಅವಕಾಶ. Godfrey not only cursed Dunn's diabolical cunningness openly. ಗಾಡ್ಫ್ಲೆ ಬರೀ ಡನ್ಸನ್ನ ಮಾತ್ರ ಶಾಪ ಹಾಕಲ್ಲ, ಹಿ ಕರ್ಸಸ್ ಹಿಸ್ ಓನ್ ಫಾಲಿ ಆಲ್ಸೋ. ಎರಡೂ ಕೈ ಸೇರಿ ಚಪ್ಪಾಳೆ ಅಂತ ಹೇಳ್ತಾರಲ್ಲ, ಅವ್ನು ಡನ್ಸೇ ಅವ್ನು ಟ್ರ್ಯಾಪ್ ಮಾಡ್ದ, ಅವನಲ್ಲಿ ಕೂಡ ಕೆಟ್ಟ ಆಸೆ ಇತ್ತು, ವಿಶಿಯಸ್ ಫಾಲಿ. ಇಬ್ಬರು ಎರಡೂ ಸೇರಿ ಅವಳನ್ನು ಮದುವೆ ಆದ. ನಾವು ಹಿ ಥಾಟ್ ಆಫ್ ನ್ಯಾನ್ಸಿ, ಆದರೆ ಆಫ್ಟರ್ ದ್ಯಾಟ್ ನಾವು he fell in love with Nancy Lammeter since 4 years. He had been loving her, and with patience, with tacit patience, he wooed her. He was worshipping her, and she seemed to be a woman who would make his future a joyful one. And he felt that if she would be wise, she would make a home lovely to him, which his father's home had never been. ಒಂದು ಒಳ್ಳೆ ಪ್ರೀತಿ ಪ್ರೇಮ ತುಂಬಿದ ಮನೆಯನ್ನಾಗಿ ಅವಳು ಮಾಡ್ತಾಳೆ ತನ್ನ ಮನೆಯನ್ನು. ಅವ್ರ ತಂದೆಯ ಮನೆ ಆಗಿರಲಿಲ್ಲ, ಯಾಕೆ ತಾಯಿಯಲ್ಲಿರಲಿಲ್ಲ. And it would be easy when she always near to shake off those foolish habits which were cultivated just to while away the time. To pass time, he had cultivated so many foolish habits. Her presence would make him give up all those foolish habits. And Godfrey was essentially a man of domestic nature. ಒಂದು ರೀತಿಯ ಕೌಟುಂಬಿಕ ಜೀವನ ಇಷ್ಟಪಡುವಂಥ ಮನುಷ್ಯ. bred up in a home where the hearth had no smiles, where the daily habits were not chastised by the presence of household order. But he was brought up in a house where motherly love was absent. And his easy disposition made him fall in unresistingly with the family curses. ಬಹಳ ಸುಲಭವಾಗಿ ಆತ ತನ್ನ ಸಾಧು ಸ್ವಭಾವದಿಂದಾಗಿ ಕೌಟುಂಬಿಕ ಬದುಕನ್ನು ಇಷ್ಟಪಟ್ಟಿದ್ದ. ಹಿ ಲಾಂಗ್ ಫಾರ್ ಸಮ್ ಟೆಂಡರ್ ಪರ್ಮನೆಂಟ್ ಅಫೆಕ್ಷನ್, ಒಂದು ಶಾಶ್ವತವಾದ ಒಂದು ನವಿರಾದ ಪ್ರೀತಿಯನ್ನು ಬಯಸ್ತಾ ಇದ್ದ. ಸಮ್ ಇನ್ಫ್ಲೂಯೆನ್ಸ್ ದಟ್ ವುಡ್ ಮೇಕ್ ಹಿಮ್ ಈಸಿ ಟು ಪರ್ಸ್ಯೂ ದ ಗುಡ್. ಹಿ ಪ್ರಿಫರ್ಡ್ ಆ್ಯಂಡ್ ವಿಶ್ ಫಾರ್ ದ ನೀಟ್ನೆಸ್, ಪ್ಯೂರಿಟಿ. ತಾನೇನು ಗುಡ್ ಅಂತ ಅಂದ್ಕೊಂಡಿದ್ದೇನೆ ಅದನ್ನು ಪ್ರಿಫರ್ ಮಾಡಲಿಕ್ಕೆ ಹಿ ನೀಡೆಡ್ ಸಮ್ ಪರ್ಫೆಕ್ಟ್ ಲವ್ ಅಂದ್ಕೊಂಡಿದ್ದ. ಆ್ಯಂಡ್ ಹಿ ವಿಶ್ ಫಾರ್ ದ ನೀಟ್ನೆಸ್. ನ್ಯಾನ್ಸಿ ಲ್ಯಾಮೆಟರ್ ಮನೇಲಿರ್ತಕ್ಕಂಥ ನೀಟ್ನೆಸ್, ಪ್ಯೂರಿಟಿ, ಲಿಬರಲ್ ಆರ್ಡರ್ಲಿನೆಸ್ ನನಗೆ ತುಂಬ ಇಷ್ಟ ಆಗ್ತಿತ್ತು. ಆ್ಯಂಡ್ ಇಟ್ ವಾಸ್ ಸನ್ನೆಡ್ ಬೈ ದ ಸ್ಮೈಲ್ ಆಫ್ ನ್ಯಾನ್ಸಿ. ಆ್ಯಂಡ್ ಆರ್ ಸ್ಮೈಲ್ ಲುಕ್ ಲೈಕ್ ದ ಫ್ರೆಶ್ ಬ್ರೈಟ್ ಅರ್ಸ್ ಆಫ್ ದ ಮಾರ್ನಿಂಗ್. ಬೆಳಗಿನ ಆ ಶುಭ್ರವಾದಂಥ ಗಳಿಗೆಗಳಂತೆ ಅವಳ ಸುಂದರವಾದ ನಗು ಕಾಣಿಸ್ತಾ ಇತ್ತು. ಆ್ಯಂಡ್ ಹರ್ ಸ್ಮೈಲ್ ವುಡ್ ಮೇಕ್ ಎನಿ ಟೆಂಪ್ಟೇಷನ್ಸ್ ಟು ಗೋ ಟು ಸ್ಲೀಪ್. ಯಾವುದೇ ಕೆಟ್ಟ ಆಸೆ ಪ್ರೇರಣೆಗಳಿದ್ರೂ ಅವು ನಿದ್ದೆ ಮಾಡಿಬಿಡ್ತವೆ ಅವಳು ನಗು ನೋಡ್ತಿದ್ದಾಗೆ. ಆ್ಯಂಡ್ ವುಡ್ ಓಪನ್ ಅಪ್ ಒನ್ ಟು ಎ ಗುಡ್ ಏಂಜಲ್ ಇನ್ವೈಟಿಂಗ್ ಟು ಇಂಡಸ್ಟ್ರಿ, ಸೋಬ್ರೈಟಿ ಆ್ಯಂಡ್ ಪೀಸ್. ಕೆಲಸ, ಶ್ರಮ, ಸಮಾಧಾನ, ಶಾಂತಿಯ, ನೆಮ್ಮದಿಯ ಕಡೆಗೆ ಒಬ್ಬ ವ್ಯಕ್ತಿನ ಕರ್ಕೊಂಡು ಹೋಗುವಂಥ ಸುಂದರವಾದ ನಗು ಅವಳದು. ಬಟ್ he had to lose this hope of paradise because of his past mistakes. He was worried about the day of disclosure of his secret to his father. ಮುಂದೆ ಏನಾಗ್ಬೋದು ನಮ್ಮ ತಂದೆಗೆ ಗೊತ್ತಾದರೆ. he had to face the violent resentment of his father. ಅವರಪ್ಪ ಭಾಳ ಕೋಪ ಮಾಡ್ಕೋತಾರೆ ಫಾರ್ wounding the pride of the family. ಕುಟುಂಬದ ಗೌರವ ಹಾಳು ಮಾಡಿದೆ. he would disseminate him. ಅವನು ಹೆರಿಡಿಟರಿ ಡಿಗ್ನಿಟಿನ ರೀಸನ್ ಎಲ್ಲ ಡಿಗ್ನಿಟಿ ಕಳ್ಕೊಳ್ತಾನೆ. ಆ್ಯಂಡ್ ದಟ್ ವಾಸ್ ದ ಓನ್ಲಿ ರೀಸನ್ ಫಾರ್ him to live there in that village. And he would lose the esteem of Nancy permanently. He would lose the sight of her. And that's why he was trying to ward off that evil day. ಎಷ್ಟು ಸಾಧ್ಯನೋ ಅಷ್ಟು ಮುಂದಕ್ಕೆ ಹಾಕಲಿಕ್ಕೆ ಆ ದಿನವನ್ನು ಪ್ರಯತ್ನ ಪಡ್ತಿದ್ದಾನೆ. ಹೇಳ್ತಾರಲ್ಲ, ಬೀಸೋದೊಣ್ಣೆ ತಪ್ಪಿದರೆ 1000 ವರ್ಷ ಆಯಿಸು ಅಂತ. he thought that this act of warding off that day would deliver him from that hateful consequences. ಹೀಗೆ ಮುಂದಕ್ಕೆ ಆಗ್ತಾ ಅದು ಹೋದರೆ ಒಂದಿನ ಅವನು ಈ ಒಂದು ಕೆಟ್ಟ ಪರಿಣಾಮದಿಂದ ಬಚಾವಾಗ್ಬೋದು ಅಂತ ಅನ್ಕೋತಾ ಇದ್ದಾನೆ. ದೋ ಹ್ಯಾಡ್ ಸ್ಟ್ರಾಂಗ್ ಯಾರ್ನಿಂಗ್ ಟು ಮೀಟ್ ನ್ಯಾನ್ಸಿ, ಹಿ ವಾಸ್ ಅವಾಯ್ಡಿಂಗ್ ಟು ಮೀಟ್ ಹರ್. ನೋಡಬೇಕು ನ್ಯಾನ್ಸಿ, ನನಗೆ ತುಂಬ ಆಸೆ ಇದೆ, ಆದರೆ ಅವಾಯ್ಡ್ ಮಾಡ್ತಿದ್ದಾನೆ. ನೌ ಹಿ ವಾಸ್ ಇಂಪೆಲ್ಡ್ ಬೈ ದ ಡಿಸೈರ್ ಟು ಮೀಟ್ ಹರ್ ಆ್ಯಂಡ್ ದ ಆಪರ್ಚುನಿಟಿ ಹ್ಯಾಡ್ ಕಮ್ ಫಾರ್ ಹಿಮ್ ಟು meet her at Mrs. Osgood's birthday dance. That's why he refused to go to the hunt to sell his horse and entrusted his horse to Dunstan. Another reason for that was that the market where the hunt would be held was in the Badarle town, and where Molly was residing. And nowadays the memory of Molly was odious to him, and the place, the vicinage, the whole vicinage that she was living was haunted by her. And here I quote the words of novelist: the yoke a man creates for himself by wrongdoing will breed hate in the kindliest nature. ನಾವೇ ಮಾಡ್ಕೊಳ್ಳುವಂಥ ಯೋಕ್, ಕಷ್ಟಗಳು, ಜವಾಬ್ದಾರಿಗಳು, ಸ್ವಯಂಕೃತ ಅಪರಾಧಗಳು, ರಾಂಗ್ ಡೂಯಿಂಗ್, ತಪ್ಪುಗಳ ಮೂಲಕ ನಾವು ಮಾಡ್ಕೊಳ್ತಕ್ಕಂಥ ಈ ಕಷ್ಟಗಳಿದಾವಲ್ಲ, ದಟ್ ರಾಂಗ್ ಡೂಯಿಂಗ್ಸ್ ವಿಲ್ ಟರ್ನ್ ಎನಿ ಕೈಂಡ್ಲಿಯೆಸ್ಟ್ ಮ್ಯಾನ್ ಇಂಟು ಎ ಮ್ಯಾನ್ ಆಫ್ ಹೇಟ್ರೆಡ್. ಎಂಥ ವ್ಯಕ್ತಿ ಕೂಡ ಅದರ ಪರಿಣಾಮಗಳನ್ನು ಎದುರಿಸಬೇಕಾದಾಗ ಎಂಥ ಒಳ್ಳೆಯ ವ್ಯಕ್ತಿ ಕೂಡ ದ್ವೇಷಮಯ ವ್ಯಕ್ತಿ ಆಗ್ತಾನೆ. ದ ಗುಡ್ ನೇಚರ್ಡ್, ಅಫೆಕ್ಷನೇಟ್ ಹಾರ್ಟೆಡ್ Godfrey Cass was fast becoming a bitter man. Because of his own mistakes, that good fellow, Godfrey was becoming a bitter man. He was visited often by cruel wishes that seemed to enter and depart and enter again like demons who had found in him a ready, garnished home. ಅವನಲ್ಲಿ ಒಂದು ರೀತಿಯ ಆ ಕೆಟ್ಟ ಆಲೋಚನೆಗಳು ಪದೇ ಪದೇ, those cruel thoughts, wishes would come to his mind again and depart, and they come again like demons. And he was heavily disturbed. I unquote. Empty mind is a devil's workshop ಅಂತ ಇದನ್ನು ಹೇಳ್ತಾರೆ. ಅವನು ಮಾಡಿರೋ ತಪ್ಪುಗಳು ಅವನನ್ನು ಕೊರೆದು ಅವನ ಒಳ್ಳೆತನವನ್ನೆಲ್ಲ ನಾಶ ಮಾಡ್ತಿದ್ದೇವೆ. ಕೆಟ್ಟ ಆಲೋಚನೆಗಳು ಬರ್ತಾ ಇದ್ದಾವೆ. To avoid these thoughts, he had developed many habits of which he had no interest. And Godfrey, on that evening, he thought of going to the club to pass the time. He got up with a decision to go to Rainbow and hear the talk about the cockfighting, though he was not interested in it. In this way, he was not interested in the cockfighting. But if he sat alone at home, definitely he was going to be filled with those odd thoughts about Molly Flanders, about the mistakes he had committed, and about the consequences that he had to face if they were revealed. Therefore, he decided to go to the Rainbow and sit there and to listen to the talk of the people about the cockfighting. I think you have understood this session. Here I have explained you the dignity of the Squire Cass family, his sons, the difference between Dunstan Cass and Godfrey Cass, and the problem in the life of Godfrey Cass. If you have any query or comments, please post it in the comment box. Take care. Bye.